Hello, my name is Karley Smitherman, and this is my thoughts on this week's episode of Hope for Tomorrow. My first point I want to make is with Stick Smith. In last week's episode, he tries to get Wanda and Charlie to or he proposes a business deal to Wanda and Charlie. And at first they seem kind of skeptical. Well, this week it actually goes into the business deal. He says that he has a venture that could make up to $150,000. Well, then he goes on to tell them the process of it, and that if they invest $3,000, that when the treasure that he wants to uncover on his aunt's land, when they actually get the treasure, that Wanda and Charlie will be able to get up to like $70,000 of the money that is uncovered. Well, Wanda and Charlie think about it and they think it's kind of weird, and they just, I don't think that's for us. It sounds cool, I believe you, but I'm just going to stay away. That's kind of their mentality about it. And he says, okay, I understand, but can I invite you to stay the night at my house? Because they had mentioned after they leave the cafe that they were going to try and find somewhere to spend the night and then go ahead on their travels to San Diego the next morning. Well, he invited them to stay, and they kind of, no, that's okay. Thank you for the offer, but no thank you. Well, he ends up talking them into staying. And when they get to his house, they just felt kind of eerie about it. I don't blame them. I wouldn't stay with somebody I didn't know or never met before, especially if he was hitting on my wife to begin with. But that's just a side note. When they get there, he's kind of weird, and they get tucked into their room, and he promises them a large breakfast, and just he's being really like having great hospitality. Well, that's kind of weird these days, I guess. So it switches to his point of view, and somebody comes and knocks on his door and like threatens him for his spam. And it reveals to the audience of the broadcast that he's actually trying to spam Wanda and Charlie. And then it just kind of ends right there with him getting his head busted, or his split his skull or something like that. I think that's what the guy said. And I can't wait to figure out what is actually going on with that next week. Or in the next episode that I listen to. Okay, that's my first point. And this is my second point. I think love is in the air, or lack of, maybe. Valerie says that she does not really approve of Dr. Davenport's love for Rhoda because she was actually falling for him. She wanted something between them two, and then she finds out that he's actually in love with her ghost cousin. She doesn't like that, so she doesn't approve. And then later in their conversation, he says, I'm getting a headache. This is too much for me to handle, kinda. And she's like, well, I'm sorry. I understand where you're coming from, and I'll support you in whatever you want to do. Another part of is love in the air, or lack of. Mike Green is driving Monica home to her apartment, and when they get there, our reporter is there, and she's scared because of the night's earlier events, and she ends up asking Mike to stay with her through the night. So maybe in future episodes we'll see some love blossoming between them two. And my third point is Evie is back under the doctor's care in the hospital, and she's starting to remember things about her husband. She remembers his name, but that's pretty much it. But that is a good sign. She's remembering things. She can't remember much about where she's from, where she works, their first day, etc. And she says that she would like a nice Coke. Well, he leaves to go get her one, and although she's being treated at the hospital, she's still getting hallucinations from the man who walks the path of peace. And that's kind of where it ends with her situation. These 3 points that I made up are kind of like abrupt ends, and they have futures to them, and I can't wait to figure those out in the next episodes. My name is Karley, and these are my 3 thoughts.